really passionate about what you do, the success already resides with you. That's what I believe. One such person who is always wearing a positive attitude and is highly passionate towards work and life is virtually sitting next to me today. Uh, Today we are going to have an interaction with a person who is one of the most dynamic personalities in the metal cutting industry, and I'm highly excited to introduce him to you. His name is Tony Gunn. Tony, Tony has been involved in businesses over 50 countries for past 20 years with his contribution. Currently, he is associated with Fifth Axis Work Holding, which is a global company based in California. Today, Tony is joining us from Florida, a place where probably the beaches are everywhere. And Tony is an author as well, and also a member of American Society of Mechanical Engineers. So, Tony, I welcome you to Metal Cutting TV.
Thank you so much, Sachin. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. And what a warm and kind introduction. Thank you.
It's my pleasure. So, Tony, tell us, I mean, it's been a long time for you. How do you feel about the metal cutting industry? You are working for a long time in this industry. What's your feeling about it? That's what I want to know from you.
Oh, wow. I can go so deep into that question. Yeah, I've been doing this for a little over 20 years and hopped from industry to industry within some sort of fabrication from, working in precious metals and cutting platinum and gold and things like that, and moving on to some of the more traditional metals like stainless steels, 304, 316, Inconels, that kind of thing. And then moving into the woodworking world, which was kind of a unique experience building custom cabinetry. And then I had the great opportunity to work with a company called Air Turbine Technology, which kind of encompassed all of those worlds in metal cutting and woodworking and plastics and mold and die, and had the great opportunity, as you already mentioned, to travel the world, over 50 countries over the last decade, and spend a lot of time with really amazing and creative people. And now, as you also mentioned, with Fifth Axis, working to do something of the same. I love this industry, the engineering, manufacturing, the creativity behind it. We're all kind of artists or engineers trying to do whatever we can to create the next stage of whatever comes, right? Like we all saw recently SpaceX shoot a rocket into space, and then it's a recyclable rocket that can then re-land on planet Earth and be used again. This is part of the manufacturing that we do. And personally, I have the great opportunity to work with some of the guys at SpaceX and the Teslas, and then at Tata over in India, and then with the Samsungs and LGs over in Korea, and the Apples. So all of these creative minds, I sit in a lot of engineering meetings, and this is a story I tell from time to time. I am easily one of the dumbest people in a lot of these engineering rooms when it comes to these conversations, because there are so many brilliant minds. And then I have the great opportunity to bring some of that experience and work in other engineering rooms where maybe I'm the smartest person based on what I've learned from other experiences in the new room. And I've realized that in both places, to remain humble and to remain kind and to remain respectful to everything that's going on, because I don't want to be a jerk in one room and I don't want to be an idiot in another room, right? So this creative passion that we all have to build something new in any industry, whether it be a new TV or a rocket going into space or a watch from Switzerland, or we would do a lot of work with Titan over in India as well, who has millions of watches going out of the door every year. So I think if you think about this, and there's always going to be something that you can think of that's outside of what I'm about to say, but if you think about when you walk into most buildings and most places, everything is engineered and manufactured except for us and the air. So that allows us all the creativity to do whatever we want in any industry, no matter what our passion is. So how can you not love it?
Yeah, I mean, that's absolutely, outstanding storyline which you have just narrated. And probably, for some newcomer who wants to come to industry, I mean, if he hears to this, if he listens to this, I mean, he would really get amazed about the metalworking, and probably he would be, more than ready to start working in this particular domain. Thank you so much for that. So tell us a bit about your business and how do you, how do you add value and what kind of systems do you offer to your customers?
Fifth Axis is a work holding company that can go into your CNCs, your robotics, your horizontal mills, your vertical mills. We work with tombstone companies. We've created our own tombstone. Pretty much, we believe that we are the world's most innovative vices and fixtures, and we build from the machine table up. So what we're saying is you have your machine, we're going to build your work holding from the machine table like an engineer would, all the way up to your workpiece to make sure you have exactly what you need to create an efficient and effective outcome to what you're trying to produce, right? And how this was started was, I believe it was 2004, 2006. And I hope Chris and Steve don't get mad at me for not knowing that date. And those are the two owners, really, really good people. They started their own machining shop, and they were gotten to the Fifth Axis machining and realized that they didn't have the work holding that they needed for the angles that they were trying to machine on the components that they were trying to machine. And so they started to develop their own style of work holding. So the machine shop was called Fifth Axis, which then and continues today. So there's hundreds of machines in several buildings that are still doing the manufacturing. But having the engineers to now build from the work table up to create solutions in that Fifth Axis world is how the work holding side kind of got started. And so from that time, we've just continued to innovate and develop and partner. And we have different types of products that are unique in the world of work holding that allow people to increase production, increase rigidity, increase simplicity to better understand how they can do more production within that format of work holding themselves, which is why we consider ourselves to be extremely inventive. And if someone wants to go onto Instagram right now or some of the other social media platforms, but Instagram's a lot of fun. There's over 100,000 followers on there. And part of it is because of this branding of the Run CNC, which may be familiar to some with Run DMC from back in the day, the nice hip hop music, but Run CNC has really caught on. And then if you go to Instagram at Fifth Axis, you can see really amazing tricks of the trade that people are doing that can be inspirational to someone else who wants to do something similar to that kind of work. A lot of times it's not just the Fifth Axis work holding. The person who's in charge of the Instagram page will post other people's really cool projects that they've been working on just to inspire the world on something else that may or may not relate directly to Fifth Axis, just because there's such a large platform now of people following that it's worth the inspiration of creating that for everyone else as well.
Thank you. So, although you have already elaborated about Fifth Axis, but still, would you like to specify a particular strength or something that makes Fifth Axis stand out with respect to the other players in the market in the same field?
Yes, please. Yes. There are a few things. Something we just released is the X version of the vices, of the centering vices that we have. And the X version allows for 30% more rigidity and pressure that's put on the workpiece, which, if for those people who don't know, the ability to be able to hold a part more firm or more rigid allows for deeper cuts and faster feed rates, which lowers cycle times and production time, right? So that's overall, that's what we're all trying to get to, is the ability to hold larger work pieces in a more rigid fashion. And to that point, we have created now the new X version models, which have 4 bolt holes instead of 2 bolt holes, which are going to create this extra rigidity. On top of that, and unsurpassed in our industry, and there's no product like it, we offer dovetail fixturing. And the dovetail fixturing is just a 45-degree angle that's cut in the bottom side of the workpiece itself. And what that does is it allows such a minimal amount of work holding material that you can actually machine the overall work material at a more surface area than you'd be able to by holding it in a traditional vise. And it's more rigid. The clamping style of that 45-degree dovetail actually pulls it down into the workpiece and pulls it in. And so it is extremely rigid, and no one else offers a product like that. On top of that, we have what's called rock lock fixturing. And so this rock lock base, just picture a rectangular shape, right? And it mounts onto the base of a CNC machine. And then this always stays in the machine. So now you can take one vise and put it on a smaller vise, then rotate in a larger vise. You can put 2 vices on, 3 vices on, 16 vices on, as many that will fit in the footprint of the machine. And they're all within just a few micron of taking it on and putting it back, taking it off and putting it back on. So you don't have to worry about the setup times over and over again and touching off the part. You know exactly where your G55, G56, you know where that location is going to be within a few microns every time you take it off and put it back on, which also is great for in-part measuring or in-process measuring. So you don't have to take the workpiece out of the vise, then try to figure out where you were when you left off. This precision allows for that type of measuring to be done so much more efficiently. And then something else that we just released that nobody else has is what's called a 3D product configurator or a 3D simulator. So what we have is you plug in your machine make. So let's say it's a Haas machine, because we work with Haas all over the world. We work with all the guys, but Haas is probably one of our greatest friends. And in India, we work with Philips and Manev, and Hemet Tools is our distributor over in India. So what you do is you plug in the make of your machine. So let's say it's Haas. Then you plug in the model of the machine. So let's say it's a UMC 750, which is a great 5-axis machine, right? So now you've plugged in those 2 things and you pick your rock lock base, and it's typically only 1 selection or 2 selection based on a 52 millimeter, 96 millimeter, that kind of thing, right? So fairly simple. Once you've done that, it takes the inventory of hundreds of parts and reduces it down to what can actually be used on your specific CNC machine. Then from there, you can select what my workpiece size is, so I know what my vise size is going to be, and what type of jaw do I want? Do I want a dovetail, or do I want a dual vise that can hold 2 pieces of material, or do I want a self-centering vise? And you make that selection as well. And in doing so, you've now reduced the hundreds of products down to 4 or 5. And that takes away all of the guesswork for the sales guys and for the customers to go, what do I need? What do I do? There's so many products, my mind, boom. Now we've taken all that out and say, select this, this, and this, 3 or 4 things. You know exactly what you need. Ask for a quote on these products and you're good to go. And the bonus to that is when you're doing that, you can then instantly download the 3D model, which can go right into the programming software, instantly helping you with your G codes and M codes in the program in itself. So we are completely open to all that. And all we ask for that 3D model is that you plug in your email so that we can contact you and make sure that you're supported effectively in that machining world. So those are some of the really cool things we do that set us apart from everyone else.
A lot of good information you have shared. That's really great. So, Tony, I mean, as we all are driving through difficult times right now, we would also like to understand how you and therefore your company, are managing these current crises, and do you also foresee some kind of impact on the business which comes from different countries to you? The exports which you do in time to come due to this crisis.
So there's a long answer to this, and I want to give a detailed answer as well, because I do have the wonderful opportunity to work in so many places. And of course, I'm going to make jokes, but there's a lot of seriousness to what's being done as well, right? And a lot of seriousness to a lot of businesses due to the current situation. At Fifth Axis, we are still doing quite well because we're considered essential in the U.S., and the essential employees never really had a shutdown like some of the other countries. And so during this time, if anything, we've actually felt a little bit of a growth in the desire and the need to support other people of the manufacturing of components that are protecting, some of our healthcare workers or some of the other things that are needed on a mass production scale. And so we've found it to be, while we're definitely practicing our social distancing and our safety, we've found it to be in a productive time for us. With that being said, we also work globally, and we have seen this really take a hit in many places where there's been mandatory shutdowns and mandatory times where businesses cannot run. I am notoriously known as an overly optimistic person. So I know that if we can all work together with authenticity to one another and realize that we're not battling for the same customers, we are working together to create a system where we can all succeed and work together toward ultimate success of this creativity. I believe that in the manufacturing world, we can bounce back very quickly. And I live in South Florida, and the service industry has taken a massive hit, which is completely different from manufacturing. But I am of the view that together we can bounce back significantly in the manufacturing world, because the world needs us to create. Now, do we go back to the old normal, or is there a new normal that we need to adapt to? Are we going to start doing more online social media type stuff? Are we going to create more Zoom meetings and less face-to-face meetings? What are we going to do about all of the exhibitions and trade shows around the world that people used to attend in the hundreds of thousands? Are we going to be able to get that close in the near future? Here in the US, IMTS has been canceled. I know that Simtos in Korea was postponed to October. We'll see if that continues. We have MTEX coming up in January in India, down in Bangalore, which is a massive show that I was able to attend, the most recent one. Will that go on? So we don't know these answers right now. We want them to. Will there be an adjustment? Are we going to do virtual online replacements of these in the near? We don't know. And it's important to be creative and support one another in this creativity in order to create this expansion of engineering and manufacturing on this new scale of understanding what we're going through, instead of remaining stagnant. Remaining stagnant is not going to help anyone. So do I have all the answers? Absolutely not. But I do know that Fifth Axis and Harvey Tool and Haas and Air Turbine Tools and Autodesk Fusion 360, we were some of the first ones that jumped on these Zoom meetings to immediately start educating on a virtual platform, which was easy because we were actually doing it in seminars and symposiums in a physical platform right before this happened. So we, within a week's time, took it all and just moved it to a virtual platform. And I know that everyone's doing that now, but what's the next step? Because that's soon going to become redundant. And that redundancy, we have to move on to next. Is it some sort of a virtual reality type setup? Is it where a customer can visit the showroom through a virtual reality piece? What are we going to do that's going to be creative? I don't know. Do I see some adjustments being made globally? Absolutely. Do I see optimism in the manufacturing? Absolutely, because the world needs manufacturing. That's going to be what we're all going to do in order to create the next step to move out of this new normal or this unusual circumstance that we're in.
Yeah, that's really helpful. I mean, the optimism is definitely the key, because it is not going to be the same forever and things will turn positive soon. So thanks for the explanation. Now, anything else, anything special you would like to share with our viewers from your side, just on a lighter note?
Well, I talk a lot, and so I probably covered everything that would have been part of my inspirational conclusion. You know, if we can come together in transparency and authenticity, and we don't protect ourselves from the fear of losing a customer or the fear of being outbid or whatever it might be, and we can all work together, moving forward, we can create some true greatness. And in doing so, and in believing in this, if anyone globally that sees this, but certainly in India that sees this, if you ever need my help, certainly with Fifth Axis Work Holding, because we are going to come into this market in India very strong. We have great partners there, and it's something we're just beginning to do, but not just in work holding. If you want any of my small expertise that I might be able to help you with programming or education or social media platforms or marketing, by all means, reach out to me. I am more than happy to help. You can find me on LinkedIn at Tony Gunn. It's typically the easiest platform to find me. And I will be happy to provide any information. And if I don't know it, and I don't know a lot, let's be fair, I don't know a lot, but I know a lot of people. One of my favorite sayings is, I know a guy. So if you need my help in any situation with tooling, work holding, programming, software, CNC machines, and you need some sort of networking foundation, by all means, reach out to me. I am happy to help. Hit me up on LinkedIn. We will instantly be best friends because I like everyone.
Awesome. I mean, we thank you so much for investing your time in discussion with us today. And on behalf of our viewers and the Metal Cutting TV team, I wish you a very good time, good health, and good luck. Thank you so much. Everyone, that was Tony
Thank
Gunn.
you, my friend. I appreciate you so much. Appreciate the time.